My name is Jeff Morgan. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm going to start a series of videos on what I'm going to call the Me Too witch hunt. The Me Too witch hunt. The first video is going to be reading a letter from a mother and a grandmother regarding this Me Too witch hunt. Mr. Morgan, hello. My name is, and she does not provide her name. I am a mother and a grandmother. Approximately 1 year ago, my husband and I relocated from Missouri to Texas to provide emotional and financial support to our son, who has been dealing with the enormous burden placed on him by the family law system in Texas. And in case anybody is unaware, the family law system in Texas, the Texas Family Law Foundation in Texas, and some of our legislators have fully bought into the Me Too movement. The ideas behind the Me Too movement. The idea that somehow a woman is always the victim. The idea that if a woman says something, it must be true, because obviously the man cannot speak the truth in such a situation. The man is nothing but a victimizer. The woman is always the victim. And we need to always defend the women because, of course, the women can never lie and the men can never tell the truth. That seems to be the underlying basis of a lot of the Me Too movement and their accusations, which they can raise at will, and to try to destroy a person's life. I am deeply saddened and appalled, she writes, by the gender bias and unfair treatment good fathers receive at the hands of lazy and unethical judges. Our son was an unwilling partner in a so-called, quote, no-fault divorce approximately 5 years ago. He was forcefully divorced. He was divorced by his wife. He did not want the divorce. It was imposed upon him. Unilateral, forced divorce upon this man who was trying to save his marriage, who did not want the divorce. Although our son tried to present evidence at the divorce regarding the instability of his wife and that he was and had been the primary caregiver for their two sons and her son from a previous relationship, prior to her decision to leave, his attorney was reluctant to push this evidence. The reality is, in the state of Texas, it doesn't matter what evidence you have. You can be divorced against your will, at will, so long as 60 days pass from the time that the notice is filed until the time of the hearing before the judge. You will automatically lose in the state of Texas, guaranteed to 100%. This is what we call due process in Texas. Actually, it's due process in every state in America. Anyway, she continues on. Prior to her decision to leave, his attorney was reluctant to push this evidence, and as a result, the judge's ruling was a standard cookie-cutter version. Primary custody to the mother, the Me Too movement is alive and well in Texas, standard visitation, and child support for the father. So the father who tries to save his marriage becomes a visitor in his children's life, but as a consolation prize, he gets child support imposed upon him. And God forbid that he should miss his child support or be late in his child support because he could be thrown into jail because his ex-wife forced a divorce on him. And the Me Too philosophy behind the Texas family law, the Texas Family Code, says that, of course, somehow he must be at fault, so we must make him pay child support, even though he had been the primary caregiver of the children. 3 years ago, his ex-wife left the state with the children without our son's knowledge or consent. She just fled, took off with the kids. And the past 3 years have been a long and difficult legal battle to get the children returned to Texas. After too many hearings and delays, the custody trial took place last April and she was ordered to return the boys to Texas. The rendition from the trial was lengthy and complicated, but it basically outlined several things our son had to do, which he did without question or complaint. Also included in the rendition, the judge clearly stated that if she did not move back to Texas with her boys by August 15th, primary custody would go to our son. We'll see what really happens here. Oh, she did not move back to Texas by August 15th. She placed the children in the care of her parents, who lived in Fort Worth, and enrolled them in the Keller School District. She is still living in Seattle, Washington, and has no plan to establish residency in Tarrant County as ordered by the judge. My son returned to court earlier this month to present this evidence to the judge and obtain primary physical custody as described in the rendition. We did not have a final order at that time. The judge refused to hear the evidence that proved she had not moved back to Tarrant County. And again, this is part of the Me Too philosophy. The man can do no right, the woman can do no wrong. If the woman does not want to return, maybe she's afraid of the man. Because, the Me Too movement would claim that every woman is a victim by every man. And informed our son and his attorney that she was not going to reinforce the residency requirement written in the rendition because she wasn't going to define what living here really means. So here is another judge who takes the side of the woman who's already under a court order, but now she's going to not enforce the order. Me Too philosophy is alive and well among our family court judges in the state of Texas. This week, our son finally received the confirmed final order from the judge. In it, he is supposed to pay over $700 a month in child support and insurance. He currently provides full coverage insurance for his children through his employment and has done so for more than 3 years. Oh, this bad man. He's got to be guilty somehow. He can't be a good man because the Me Too movement says that all men are bad. All men have done something against women, and therefore we must usually side with the woman when it comes down to these court orders. But the judge is requiring him to pay her an additional amount to cover half of her cost for providing a separation policy. Me Too movement in Texas family court. She continues to live in Seattle, Washington, and provides no care, no support for her children living here with their parents, and the judge places no requirements for her moving here. So essentially, our son's ex-wife has been given permission by the court to abandon her children to care by her parents in Fort Worth while her grandfather lives and works in another city in Texas and has petitioned the court numerous times to allow him to provide a home and to care for them. Our family has spent over $120,000 over the past 3 to 4 years on this struggle. We have depleted our entire cash savings. Our son currently owes his attorney an additional $20,000 plus. His monthly income is less than $2,000 a month, and after paying expenses related to this case, including the ordered child support and payment on his debt, and God forbid he not pay this because our Attorney General, who is the head of the Child Support Enforcement Division in the state of Texas, could throw him in jail for this. He has less than $700 a month to cover everyday living expenses. He will not survive under this burden. This is the beauty of the Me Too movement. It is designed to crush good men. Our son loves his children, and he was their full-time caregiver prior to the divorce that was forced on him. They love him and are securely attached to him, and they have suffered emotionally, physically, and behaviorally as a result of their mother's actions over the past 5 years. Let me just add a comment here. The Me Too movement does not care how many children it destroys, does not care about the child abuse it inflicts upon children. They have one goal, and that is to destroy men at the expense of truth and even contrary to the truth and the reality. He needs to appeal this ruling, but we have no more money with which to do this. I don't know where we go from here. In this struggle, we have dealt with 2 district judges and 1 associate judge. all of them have repeatedly overlooked her lies and omissions. She repeatedly perjured herself in deposition and on the stand, yet there were no consequences for her behavior. Isn't it amazing how there is no consequence for perjury in the state of Texas? None in the least. Family court, we expect you to lie. Perjury never gets punished. In fact, in many instances, perjury is a very strategic move. It gets you what you want, and often through perjury, you can destroy another person to get your wishes, whatever they may be. She has openly defied the judge's orders on several occasions, and each time the judge, the great judge, probably who has an ardent subscriber to the Me Too movement, has refused to act. The gender bias I have seen in the Texas family law system is remarkable. Again, this is not coming from a man. This is coming from a woman, from a mother and a grandmother. And the unethical actions of the judges with whom we have dealt is disappointing and unacceptable. Unfortunately, if she were to report this judge to the State Commission for Judicial Conduct, they probably as well would turn a blind eye, as I have found out. The Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct really doesn't care about judicial misconduct. It's just a title that they have. And judicial misconduct takes place all the time, and when it comes right down to it, in almost every instance, they side with a judge. Obviously, it must be the person filing the complaint who has misunderstood the benevolent and wise actions of this judge, who is an ardent subscriber to the Me Too movement. Our son's story needs to be heard. We have hesitated to say much publicly at this point because the case was ongoing. But now I believe our only recourse is to do everything we can to see that the laws in Texas are changed so that good fathers, Me Too movement people, there are good fathers out there, so that good fathers who are placed in these situations through no fault of their own, Me Too movement, there are fathers out there who are placed in these situations, who are undergoing false accusations, perjury, through no fault of their own, contrary to what you may think, because of course in the Me Too movement, the accusation proves somebody's guilt in spite of the evidence or in the face of the evidence. I now believe our only recourse is to do everything we can to see that laws in Texas are changed so that good fathers who are placed in these situations through no fault of their own have equal rights and access to their children without the burden of paying child support to someone who is never held accountable for how the money is spent. We moved here from Missouri, a state that has recently passed and enacted a new equal shared parenting law. From what I am reading, there are still struggles because some Missouri judges keep falling back on the old default rulings, but progress is being made. It is past time. It is past time for Texas to do the same. That is to adopt equal shared parenting rulings. Although it seems there is little appetite in the Texas legislature to reform family law. I know a number of legislators that I think are actually willing to take this on. Whether they are the majority or not is yet to be seen, but there are some good people out there who are willing to take this on because it is an atrocious system that we have in the state of Texas. They have to be made aware of what the current practice is doing to children and families. I want to be part of the catalyst for change. Any change from this point going forward will not help our son's situation, but it could help fathers in the future. Please let me know how I can help. I am interested in attending the next week with the Attorney General. And this, by the way, this letter predates our meeting with the Attorney General December of 2017, when we were going to discuss this issue with the Attorney General. He was only there for 28 minutes of the 3 hours that were committed to us. However, at this late date, I wonder if there will be an opportunity for our son's story to be told as I am sure there are already many going to voice their opinions. Not just opinions, they're stories. They're fact-based stories. And I've got a slew of them. Our son would like to attend, but unfortunately he will not be able to take off work to make the trip. He has already missed several days this year for court hearings, etc. Also, if he misses work, he has no more paid leave days available. I know this letter is long. I appreciate your time in reading it. Please contact me if there is more that I can do. This is the damage inflicted upon families by the Me Too movement. And also, may I add, the damage inflicted upon families, fathers, children by a system in Texas, the Texas family law system, the judges, and dare may I even add, perhaps even the office of the Attorney General, that inflicts this damage upon men, women, children, and many other people in the state of Texas. We hope to eliminate this plague from our state this upcoming legislative session. Thank you.